Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on handrail enhancements and saving material fit operations. My name is Laura Sinclair, and I've been with SDS2 for a little over 10 years. I started out in the support department and moved on to doing some demos for sales and helped out with the development side as well to get into other markets. I now do the product marketing for our software, so if you've watched any of the product videos in the last few years, I'm more than likely the person on the other end making them. I also help coordinate all of our webinars and run everything for behind the scenes. Today we'll cover the galvanized handrail venting options, template detailing enhancements, handrail picket spacing, handrail corner posts, L-shaped connection plates for handrail, and then saving material fit operations. And then I'm going to go into a demonstration. We'll have a Q&A at the end, so type in your questions during the webinar as you have them. SDS2's made improvements to control the vent holes for galvanizing. We'll cover the different scenarios for internal vent hole diameters, new options for external vent holes. Not only has work been done to the modeling for handrail, but details with templates have also had improvements, from calling out internal vent holes, picket spacing options, and all-around cleaner details. There's now more control for picket spacing, with more automation to make the spacing equal and architecturally pleasing, as well as more user controls. Corner posts are now an option in 2022 for flat rail and rail on stair stringers when you have a left or right return. And then a new connection type was added for handrail, and that would be the L-shaped connection plate. This will come in handy for the corner posts too. SDS2 2022 has made improvements to the fit exact, fit notch, and fit cope so that they are now going to be stored within the material. I can go into that material after it's been applied, and then I can show my fit operation. I can edit that fit operation or even delete it. I can also modify the material attributes, and the material operation will stay with that material and the information won't get lost. So now I'll go ahead and jump into the demonstration to show you all of these. We'll first cover handrail, and the first option there I will cover is the galv vent options. So you can now control the diameter of the internal vent holes. I can also do that for my top rail, mid rail, posts, pickets, and grab bar. We added in scroll bars to make it easier to see and navigate all of your options. I am going to show in the posts and pickets, fit to top is unchecked. And also in my rails, the fit to post is unchecked. Then when I come into my gal vents, and the first option I'm going to cover is my internal vent holes for my posts. I'll check that on and then hit OK. And now this is going to cause an interior vent hole in my top rail, and it'll also add in an interior vent hole in my base plate or continuous plate. Now not only am I going to add it in my post, I'll also add an interior or internal hole in my mid rail. And then I can uncheck the auto interior hole diameter, and I'm going to override that to 1 inch for my post and my mid rail. So now I see in my rail, I have a hole in my top rail and at the mid rail of my post intersection. I also have the hole in my base or continuous plate. In some conditions, a user might not require a hole in the top rail, but only in that base or continuous plate. So if I uncheck the internal, internal in the connection plate becomes enabled. And now I no longer have that hole in my top rail, but you will see that I still have the hole in my base plate. At the post and top hole intersection, some will want to have vent holes in the top rail only, some will want to have them in the post only, and some will want both. So now we have the ability to add external vent holes to the top rail. Now I'll remove the external holes in the posts. And note that this will remove both at the top and the bottom external vent holes in the posts. Next on the list is the external vent hole. When a pipe rail has an end post, the external vent hole is often not required, so we do have this option, but by default it is not checked. The drillings of the holes in the elbows is not always easy, so we have added an option for P-end conditions to have vent holes in the elbows, rails, or none. So I'll just quickly show it in the rails. And then I'll show it for none as well. A lot of work has been done to the rails in the detailing templates. You can see now that the templates call out the internal vent holes, along with the handrail label is now capitalized. Now moving on to the picket spacing enhancements, we'll start off with the flat rail section, and then we'll move on to the stair rail. Quite a few fields have been added to control the picket spacing, so the scroll bar is going to be very beneficial here. This isn't new to this version, but just want to point out again that we can browse for the round bar and the section sizes for your picket section size. This will read from your shape properties. Same with the supports for the grab bar if you have that enabled. When it comes to pickets, the real concern is the spacing between the post and the picket faces. Making sure that a 4-inch diameter sphere can't fit between the posts and that picket spacing is even. We've updated the back spacing field to be max clearance with a default of 3 3/4 inch. You can easily override this and change it even in your default settings, which we'll come back to. I have the picket spacing set to equal spacing for this example. When I measure this now, it's going to be equal decimal spacing for the face-to-face. This will cause the face-to-face dimension to be a bust since the slight difference will add up. So we've added in this rounding option, and I'll type in 1/16 of an inch here. And now I'll measure the first space, and then I'll measure a couple extra spaces here. As you can see, we split the first and the last dimension to make this all as close as possible and have the face-to-face add up. Boosting the maximum spacing to 4 inch will now give us even better results for equal spacing, and we'll have everything add up exactly. We found out that you can get less pickets in most cases and maximize the spacing. Taking a look at the detail, you can see the face-to-face clearance dimension, and these are exact to the nearest 16th of an inch. If we had a dimension that was not to the nearest 16th of an inch, there would be a plus or a minus applied, and you'll see that in their next couple examples. You can see the spacing data on the secondary dimension. This can be controlled in your settings, the plugin default, member plugin defaults, and Handrail, and then the template detailing, and then picket spacing dimension string and primary dimension field if you don't want that to be on the secondary line. I can set all of my default settings here, but that's been in here for multiple versions. Next, now let's say I want to have control over the first and the last picket clearance spacing. For this example, I'll start with the intermediate post. I can change from the equal spacing to setback from point for both, and I'll just leave it at 6 for now. This setback will be from either side of the intermediate post face. To control the distance on the ends, you'll want to come back to the main section, and the picket spacing I'll change for both the left end and the right end spacing condition. I'll change that to setback from point, and I'll just have it at 2 inches for this one. Now when I measure it, you can see the distance is 2 inches on the left side from the end, and then still it's from 6 inches from the face of the intermediate post to the picket face. I'll now move over to a handrail that has returns on it. I have the option for picket spacing when I have returns. So I'll change my right return end, the picket spacing to 0 for my left end and 6 inches for my right end. Now I'll change it to 1 inch just so you can see that update. The last thing I'm going to change for this handrail is the picket spacing for my pickets for my intermediate post to the faces. And I'll change this one to 1 inch as well so you can see. Moving on to the handrail on the stairs, in prior versions, the input spacing for the pickets was applied along the slope. This has now been changed to match the posts with the clearance value being applied in the horizontal from face to face. If I were to move the post on the top and the bottom, SDS2 will automatically recalculate and adjust the picket spacing. Looking at the detail with the improved detailing templates, you can now see the plus/negative that I was talking about that will show up if it is greater than 1/16 of an inch for rounding. If a top view is needed for the stair rail and it's not provided, we can add one using Bruce Vaughn's parametric found in our macro examples and then view top flange. Then I'll redetail this. And when I open up the stair rail, it'll have a top view. And the pickets are automatically dimensioned in that top view. We've added in reference dimensions on different layers to easily turn them on and off if they aren't needed. So I'll just turn on the reference dimension and then I'll turn them all back on. On the edit screen, we have added in a section length for the plan and actual to the main and the return tabs. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in a top view to my flat handrail as well with the pickets. And the pickets aren't automatically going to be dimensioned with the top view unless I have this turned on in my settings under the template detailing. So I'm going to turn that on for the picket dimensions for flat rails on top view. Corner posts are now available in 2022 and will work for flat and rails that are on stairs. In the general information area, there are now areas for the left and right corner posts. If you are adding in a corner post, you will have the option to have the corner post follow the main section or the return. This is going to affect the orientation of that connection and also the top to support distance. Now that I've selected to add in the corner post, the right corner post tab is going to be enabled. And then I can also set my connection information in this area. For this example, I'm going to show the new L-shaped plate. I can then modify the plate cut, the number of rows, columns, etc. And then I'll quickly apply this corner post also for the handrail that's on my stairs. I'll just make a couple modifications here. And I'll take out my intermediate posts for my return. And now you can see my corner post. It's all nice and fit at the top. And my connection shows nicely. Now moving on to our material fit operations. The first one that I'm going to cover is the fit notch. In this example, I have a plate that is running through the pipe column, and I'm going to apply a 1/4 inch clearance for the notch. I'll add this by going up and just searching for that. In the column material, there is a new button called Material Operations. This will only be enabled if I have Fit Exact, Fit Notch, or Fit Cope applied at this time. I can see the Fit Notch applied, I can edit it, or I can delete it. So I'm going to modify. So I'll go ahead and show my cuts. And then I'm going to come in and edit this so I can modify it after the fact, and I'll change this to a 1/2 inch for my clearance instead. I can then add in another fit notch on the plate below. I added this time through my quick access toolbar on my left side. So let's say I have now 2 fit operations added to this column. Now when I go into my material operations, you'll see that there are 2 fit notches applied, and maybe I want to delete the one that's on the bottom. So I can do show all for my cuts. To figure out which cut it is, I can do my show cut, and then I can just click the delete button on the cut that I want to get rid of. So you'll notice that the cut was gone on the bottom, but it still keeps my fit notch up on the top. Maybe I want to do a fit exact now instead. So if I select my material, I can go up in the contextual ribbon and then just do material fit exact. And I'll just add in a 1/2 inch here for my clearance. I can even delete this plate, and it's not going to get rid of any of the material operations that are done on that column. And since this material is already going to be user material, I can come in here and maybe I want to change my section size to a pipe 8. Hit OK. And it still keeps those material fit operations on that column, even though I'm regenerating the material section size. So I'll just change this back to my pipe 6. So I added in the fit exact to that plate running through the column, but maybe I want to run it on my bent plate that's going around my column. So I'll just run it through my quick access sidebar. And then maybe I want to add in a fit cope, and I'll run that around this column. So I'll go up in my contextual once I select that bent plate, and I'll do a fit cope around that column with a 1/2 inch clearance. And since I've already done it for this, I'll just do it for this other bent plate as well, going around the column. So I have those coped around the column. Now what if I want to come back and change that bent plate thickness? So if I edit that thickness, I'll change this to a 1/2 inch. Since it's stored within that material fit operation, it remains the same, and I get to still keep that cope instead of having to reapply it. So these are not dynamic at this time. So if I were to change, let's say, the column section size, the cope is not going to automatically update. So what I would want to do is delete those material fit operations and then reapply them going around the column. Over on the right hand side, we do now have the material fit operations stored in the model tree. And in the selection filter, we have material operations also as an option. I'll come down and I can edit or even select from the model tree. So I'll just change this maybe to a 1/4 inch. And it updates. In my display, there is 3 options under my material. There's show material fit operations. So I would click on the material so you can see the material fit operation. And since I have material operations selected in my selection filter, then I can just go ahead and double click on that and edit the material fit operation. So maybe I'll just change this to a 1/4 inch. So when you're finished with this, I can either hide material operations or hide all material operations. If I select all material operations, I don't have to select which material I want to hide it from. I'll just go ahead and show material or hide material operations. I select the bent plate and then it goes away. These are also in my right click menu. So if I select that material, the show material operations, hide, and hide all are all options. So that concludes today's session on the handrail enhancements and also in the material fit operations. You can go ahead and start typing in your questions. And while you're doing that, I'll just go over a few of the upcoming events. We are at NASCC next week, March 23rd through the 25th in Denver. Come see us at booth 2411, and we do have a couple presentations as well there. And then we are on the Riverwalk in San Antonio at SDS2 Summit, October 19th and 20th. This is a great event for networking and also to attend sessions from your fellow users. And I will now give you a few more minutes to type in your questions. All right, everyone. We'll give you a few moments to type in your questions. We do have a few polls to run as well. So let me go ahead and just start. I'll start with the material one. So the question is, what material operation do you use the most? This would be the ones that have not been implemented yet. So do you use stretch, bend on line, bend on radius point, frame, or fuse? And then I'll take a look at some of your questions. Let's see. Do the new material operations work with cut layout? These currently just work with fit notch, fit cope, and fit exact. Can you save all of these handrail form settings? Yeah, you can save forms in the handrail. Let me open up my screen here.
But you also have the defaults.
Yes, yeah, so if I come in here, that's James, everybody. If I come in my handrail, maybe.
We even fixed some of the form issues that we had where, especially with mid rails and spacings, when you saved and reloaded the forms, they weren't working correctly. So
Yep.
there was a number of form work that was done to make sure that you could pass those back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, what we missed, just tell us. But
Yep.
we pretty much sewed up a few of them.
Yep, I did turn to dark mode the last session that we just had, so everything has now changed. But yeah, so we do have the forms up here, or it was in my settings as well. If I come into my project settings and then plugin defaults, member plugin defaults, and then handrail. And you can set up all your defaults in there. All right. I'll send this one for James. For the galvanized railing, I unchecked the fit to pipe or fit to top.
Fit the post, yeah, to get it square. Right. And
Yeah,
you
so,
basically have, yeah, go ahead.
okay, so do you need that unchecked to work with the internal vents?
No, no. I just did that in the demonstration to show that to make it easier to see.
Yep. Okay. If you see any James, you can answer him as well. I'm just
I can't see anything for some reason. The thing got screwed up, so I can't see any of
good.
that.
Good. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll. It looks like 85% of you use the stretch. And I realized you guys could not see my screen because I was running the poll.
I was gonna ask that, but
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
agree with Stretch. That's something used all the time. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay, so back to the question that we did have, the forms. The forms are up here, or I was in my member plugin defaults and handrail.
what amazes me is that a lot of people didn't realize that that was there. It's been there since handrails came out. So might help out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let me I'll go to the next one. These are all handrail ones. How important is it to have your top rail bent into a P-loop, excluding the elbows? So we just have a scale of not important at all to very important. So this just kind of gauges for us for development reasons as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be pretty high. People bend posts. They don't like to use elbows. I mean, bend, going
Yeah,
post down or P loops and things like that.
yeah. Well, the
Yeah, Laura, I'm
material.
not seeing any of the questions. I have the question thing open, but I don't see
Oh,
any.
yeah. Yep, there's quite a few. Okay, then I'll just read you the questions.
That'll
With
work.
with internal vent holes off for top rails and mid rails, will the base plate still get a vent hole? Yes. So there is an option when you have that turned off. Um, once this poll is finished, I can go ahead and show you. But then it does become enabled in your. Oh, I have the wrong one open, and I know you can't see it, but
I can't see anything. All I see is
I
the
know.
how important
I
is the whole screen.
I know. So in the gal vents, if you have internal checked off for post, a internal and connection plate becomes enabled. So I'll go ahead and close this poll. It does look like well, I don't know. It's kind of might be closer than you think, James. It says 24% not important at all, 27% important, and 33% very important.
Well, I'll put the important and very important together. Let's
Yeah.
do a little bit of statistical jumping
Okay.
around and magic. I
Yep.
do see one question that came across about the plus and minus to actually show whether
Yes.
it's plus or minus. That was something that was discussed, went back and forth. We ended up going with the plus or minus. Doesn't mean it always has to be that way, but our first stab at it is to go with a plus or minus. We do know whether it's a minus or a plus. We want to see if this is something that's big, big requirement. Usually people from the people I was talking with, they're like, you know what? We create a block, we put them in between the posts. That's what we use, and then they buy eye to make sure it's even. So, um, I've heard a lot of different arguments, but yes, it was an option on the plate. It still is a task that's in there, I believe. So, not the answer you probably want, but that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna hide that and then I'll
My,
show
my
you.
response is just make your posts in the right place so that your pickets are going to be even anyways, but that's a whole other story.
Okay, in the gal vents under the post, here is where it says internal and connection plate if I have internal unchecked.
Correct. We put that in so that way you could have it just in the plate, so that way you can drain and vent right through the bottom of the plate. And a lot of people like to have a bigger hole in that to get more flow through it. So there is, like I said, when it comes to dealing with handrails and venting, I've seen hundreds of different types, and we have made a stab at it to improve what it was before to give you more in control. I've got some people say there's too many vent holes. I got people saying there's not enough vent holes, but we tried to satisfy as much as we could with this interval of fixing up rails in the time we had.
Yeah, somebody did say, is it an option to not vent the grab bars at the bent bar location on stair posts? I'm just seeing in the gal vents under grab bar, there isn't one for specifically stairs.
No, there isn't one for the, so they're trying to basically get rid of the vent hole.
When it goes
Um,
for a return, I'm guessing.
yeah, probably on the return down at the bottom. I'm not sure if I can get that one or not. If not, just put in your request and we'll throw it in the pile for the next iteration of handrails.
Someone's asking how can you transfer a handrail form setting from one project to another? You can just save your forms anywhere and then apply your form. So you could save it to just a folder and then apply that form if you're having the exact same handrail.
And don't forget the defaults too. You can
Yep,
copy that as
yep.
well.
I don't know if this is exactly okay. So the handrail in the ends option to have butt, elbow, or miter. Our shop bends Most corners at 3.5 inches inside radius. Is there a bend option as well available? I don't think so, right?
Well, that was the
No.
first question. Are they referring not to
Ah,
have
okay.
an option? So I think that's what they're looking for is in the
Yep.
ends. We have butt, elbow, and miter, and
Oh, okay.
that's
Yep.
one of the things that we have is to basically bend those, I believe is the question that they're asking. And that's why that was the first poll question I asked because I wanted to find out how important it is because
Yep.
it is, I believe it's pretty darn important to bend those. But when they allow me to work on handrail again, then that's what definitely it's pretty high up on my list.
Somebody put those 24% don't have pipe benders.
Okay, no fighting on the questions, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
How
elbows are
about,
expensive. I mean, if you got a pipe bender, just bend it.
okay. How often do you use the bar material for your handrail posts? And then we just have the scale here from never to always. And let me try to see, trying to knock out some of the handrail ones so we can move over to some
Oh,
of the,
handrail is important. I mean, since
yep.
the early 2000s, handrails miscellaneous became part of the bids, and you couldn't pass it off. So there's definitely a need for rail work. That's my 2 cents, anyway.
Mhm. Okay, Steve, are you there still? See, he's muted, but let me go back to some of
Yes,
them.
yes, I am.
Okay, sounds good. Let me go to some of the material ones. Will the oh wait, no. Yeah. Where the material end operations make the main material graphical with the no, I was not using the column member edit. I was editing the material for that column. So it will make, so if I edit this column, it does make it user material.
I can't see it.
Oh shoot. Thanks. Uh, okay. I'll go ahead and close this. And then it looks like from sometimes up, looks like about 50% or so say that they use the bar material for posts.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yep. Okay. Now I'll hide this to show you. Yes, it is user main material, and they're asking if the ends are graphical. No.
The ends will not become graphical, but as of right now, the main material will be tagged as user. That is a future project to see about the user main material versus system with these material operations being saved.
So you're going to make it like holes then.
Correct.
Let's see. Try and find some more material ones. Someone's asking what's material frame. I actually don't use material frame. Did you used to use it, James?
Material frame?
Yeah.
Sometimes it wasn't, it always gave me heartache. Sometimes it worked really great, sometimes it didn't. So,
Okay. Well, wait. Oh, this is back to handrail. Is there a way to add a hole in the top and bottom rail for the pickets to go through? Are they talking about? Oh gosh, let me go ahead and I will hide my unselected. I think they're meaning up here. Hole. Do you know that, James?
what was that? Hold on. Sorry, I got 5 questions going. What's this? What's the question?
Someone's asking if there's a way to add a hole in the.
No, that is definitely something because a lot of people poke holes in top and bottom. So let's go ahead and get a rail and put a bunch of holes in it, and then the guy just sticks in the post and then welds around. So currently, no, that didn't make it into this one, and it's definitely on the priority list for the next time we get to rails. So sorry about that. That's where they're at right now.
Okay, for the stair rails, is the mid-rail location control still from the bottom nosing line / top of surface?
Yeah, that hasn't been changed.
Okay. Says in the forum we requested to locate this to make the location at the top rail, like the grab rail.
Yeah, we actually, I mean, we have, I can't remember how many hundreds of different requests that are in there. So we're filtering through the list and we're trying to, because we only have like this was a 2-month project, I believe, that we have a certain amount of time. So we're trying to get, as much as possible. But I tell people I could spend the rest of my life working on handrail. There's so much that needs to be done.
Yeah.
From curved rails, not even curved rails, just intermediates and things like that with anyway, go on. Next.
It says, is there a way to hide material in 2022? I'm not seeing that. I'm guessing they're thinking of the right click when we do the hide unselected members. They're thinking of hide material. I'm not seeing that in the right click menu there.
Oh, is that a request then for something new?
It must be. If you haven't turned that in, I would go ahead and turn that in. Let's see. Justin, I'll look into your question about the step files. That I'm not positive.
Hey, you had a couple of more polls there, didn't you?
Yep. Let's see.
I'm really curious about concrete steps and some of the other stuff. I want to hear what people have to say. Oh, this is fine. This is fine.
Okay, so how often do you use the transitions in the stair rail?
Are there any other questions that we have?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, this is pretty much what I'm looking at the numbers going up. Always, 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 often, sometimes. I should have been more specific. What type of transition do you use in stair rails? Because the geometry will affect how that transition is going to work between those rails. So I think that'll be like a couple of month project on its own, just working on transition. Whenever I get back to working on it.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody asked show members.
Looks like that poll is pretty much stopped. Everybody had a flurry. So sometimes, often, always, pretty much.
Yep, pretty much. And then someone asked, change that column member and edit and change it to system material. So I just edited it. I mean, it's the same thing. So like it changes to a user main material once you apply that. But once you change it back to system, you're going to lose that material cut.
In short, it's what's expected. Everything will be wiped out.
Yep. Okay. And then I will just keep moving on to these polls. How important is it to connect to concrete for stairs? Oops, I think I put to concrete. Oh wait. Yeah, okay, I'm right. How important is it to
connect to concrete stairs?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Is it Monday still?
I know. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to probably get more control over those plates because concrete steps for short rails.
Yeah, it looks like it's very important. It looks about 50% say it's very important, 22% say it's fairly, and 20% say it's important. So.
Yeah. No, again, I have these. The reason I ask these questions is because I wanted a wider thing to reaffirm what the priority list already is. So.
Yep, someone's saying that it happens all the time in warehouses. So.
Yeah, it's common all about.
Yep. Okay, I know this. I feel like this question is used a lot. How often is it? Do you use curved rails?
Yeah, I probably should have elaborated on this question. I'm thinking more about tanks and around stacks and things like that. We use a lot of curved grading rails. The other rails are usually so specific with, bell out bottoms and stuff like that. But we'll see what people have to say.
Looks like sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the industrial people are going, yes, we do it for our tanks and stuff, grading treads. But
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and close this one, and then I'm just going to do the last one. And how often do you use cable rail?
this has become quite popular lately. Look at that. Look at those numbers. Hey, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, it looks like it's good to collect this information too.
The nice thing is you can give me these polls and then I can go ahead and go back through my priority list. So whenever, I'm not promising, but whenever we get back to working on Rails,
Yeah,
probably won't be in 2023, but when we get back to this, we can, or 2022, but when we get back to this, we can get some stuff done.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the questions are dying down too. So
Yep.
I appreciate everyone for your feedback and joining us for the webinar session. I'm going to go ahead and close this one. It looks like kind of a mix in between about cable rail. So
Yeah, they're becoming quite popular using cables.
yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone again. Make sure we do have Summit in October down at the Riverwalk in San Antonio. It's always great to see you guys. And then also we have more sessions this week. Tomorrow is connections and connection cubes. And then on Thursday, it's James and I again. And we are doing Toolbox and we are doing Tekla Power Fab. So
I'll wear my flak jacket for that one.
all right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.